What is going on, snipers? Naeem Al-Obeidi here. I hope you're all enjoying your day today. Let's go ahead and just dive right into our daily cryptocurrency market analytics and content for today. We're going to be talking about 3 altcoins most likely to outperform Bitcoin in 2018. I'm going to give you guys a little bit more than just 3. I'll give you 3 short-term and long-term altcoins that I believe have intrinsic value and can surpass Bitcoin in market percentage for 2018. As you all know, altcoin dominance is starting to shift above Bitcoin as we're starting to see more liquidity come into this market, with total altcoin dominance at 22.74% now, with Bitcoin dropping from 45 to 42%. So I went ahead and highlighted some of the coins here. In blue, we're talking about longer term altcoins, and then in green are coins that I think in the next 2 to 3 weeks have a potential to see an outperforming percentage in comparison to Bitcoin. And the reason I say that is, as you can see, in the past 7 days, a lot of these coins in the top 50 have seen over 20 or even 30% gains, but there are a couple that have not yet seen that amount of liquidity come into their coins. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that sometimes when a lot of liquidity comes into the market, it's divided upon many different coins, and that's obviously not always an equal division. So you can see how Litecoin is only 11% up in the past 7 days, Tron only 11% up, and Binance Coin only 6% up, with the coin burn being today. Not necessarily seeing any sort of significant price action, but I'm going to talk about the technical analysis for the coins that we're talking in the short term, like Litecoin, Tron, and Binance, as well as other factors that can influence this market in regards to altcoins. So if we move to our Bitcoin chart, it's pretty interesting because I left everything that we had on there yesterday to show you all how accurate technical analysis is. Look at this. The RSI followed our exact pattern here in red, and now we're starting to test that 60. As you all know, anything above 60 in RSI would be considered overbought. Well, really, that's over 70, but anything 60 to 70 is a bullish sign that we're going to see overbought levels over 70. So as you can see, we're going to start heading up there with the MACD as well, starting to follow our pattern up, where we're seeing that buyer histogram starting to increase. In my opinion, we're soon going to see a little bit of a pullback, knowing that this RSI is starting to approach that 60, where we previously saw a strong pullback all the way back down to these bearish RSI levels. So in my opinion, at this point, if you are playing Bitcoin, you can see we broke out of this overall long-term pennant. If we were to go into the 1-hour chart, we have several different resistance and support levels drawn out. This was actually what we drew out yesterday, this other pennant that was forming here. If you don't know what a pennant is, it's when the resistance and the support lines converge together and it approaches that apex, which is the end of that symmetrical triangle, in which it squeezes and it pops. And that's exactly what happened here. And we actually traded this yesterday. If you guys are getting our trade alerts on Patreon, we called out another trade yesterday with Bitcoin, saying that we should go ahead and buy it between the levels of 8,000 and 8,100, in which it popped right outside of that pennant. If you're not getting our trade alerts, the link is in the description below. It's patreon.com/snipers. And as you can see, right into that take profit zone. And if you are playing this trade, what I personally have done is I've moved my stop loss up from these levels up to around 8,200, so that no matter what, I am going to be taking profits. But if it doesn't see any further decline and starts to head to the higher area of this profit zone, knowing that the resistance is all the way at 9,000, we have all of this green here, it's going to allow me to take as much profits as possible. And I always recommend increasing your stop losses incrementally as coins start to go. So that's what we're looking at with Bitcoin right now. We're finding support right along that previous resistance level, which is now acting as support just as we expected. And what's also cool is we're starting to see a cup and handle form here for the Binance coin. So this is the next coin that I believe is extremely undervalued. Once again, we're looking at coins that have intrinsic value. The Binance coin is an extremely intrinsically valuable coin, being the fact that the majority of users trading altcoins are on the Binance exchange, and it's the one exchange, in my opinion, that has a CEO that is a Tom Brady and is going to get to the end zone. He's an awesome CEO with a lot of vision for this whole concept of Binance being the #1 exchange in the world, eventually going on their own blockchain soon, which is going to be a huge feat for them. And what's cool is we're seeing this traditional cup and handle form, where you see that breakout, the cup form right here, and now the handle is starting to form. I am waiting for this RSI to start to go back down to these lower levels, as we saw very consistent support levels here right along that 36 RSI level. I think we're going to start to see lower RSI levels soon, and in my opinion, that's going to be the perfect time to get a position in this coin. If you don't know what a cup and handle is, by the way, we have a free resource. This is our Discord. The link is in the description below. You can see how a cup and handle forms just as we drew it out, with the handle initiating that breakout. And what's cool here is the right side of the diagram has low trading volume. It's exactly what we're seeing here. We saw higher volumes here. Now we're starting to see volume decrease, as you can see with this negative divergence here with the volume. So before we move on to our next technical analysis, which is going to be Litecoin, trading at the bottom of these Fibonacci zones, which is something we always like to see, let's go ahead and take some questions from our live audience, baby. Chardan said 265 watching, only 33 likes. What's up? Hit the likes. Come on, y'all. You guys want me to be motivated to do this every single day for you? Hit the like button. Come on. Edit name said LTC to the moon. Yes, LTC, I believe, is extremely undervalued right now as a short-term altcoin, likely to outperform Bitcoin, in my opinion, within the next 2 to 3 weeks. Somebody says, when will LTC moon? I think very soon, especially as we start to see this volume increase. I don't know if you can tell. If we were to hide that little flag, we can see volume is starting to increase. We'll go ahead and go into the 3-hour chart, and you can see right here, volume starting to go right up, and that's exactly what we're looking for that potential breakout. Marcus says, do a dance for a like. I'm fine. Broderick in the house said, shout me out, please. There's your shout out, baby. Benny says, fair play, like, bro. Thank you. Chardan said, boon. Jason said, Scanlon XRP. We'll talk about XRP. We already predicted that breakout recently. Somebody asked about what's up with Zilliqa. George, Zilliqa is more of a long-term hold. Remember, long-term holds, you put your position and forget. Eric Rod says, thoughts on BAB. Haven't looked at that. Thank you, Chad. Said, good work, bro. And Always New says, I want review from you about Verge and Litecoin. We're going to be talking about Verge today, actually. Interesting article that we found here on Verge. I'm actually just going to go ahead and dive right into the Verge article here. So, a massive red flag. Verge developers, the money moved is to pay for Ledger integration, is what they claimed the money that moved from their Verge wallet to the Binance wallet was being sold for. But then Ledger's chief technology officer saying, I'm not aware of anybody on our team working on Verge. Red flag for Verge. This is an interesting article. I'm going to leave the link in the description below. But now we're starting to see a little bit of some fishy things happening with Verge. Once again, Verge right now, in my opinion, if you're holding those coins, I would be very careful with where you set up your stop losses. I would set them up as high as possible, because just in case we see any sort of negative FUD that drops this price down, make sure you have the ability to get out of that position so you're not losing out on your position. So that's just one thing about Verge. Let's move on to the Litecoin technical analysis really quick, because we are trading at the bottom of these Fibonacci levels. If we were to go back to this one-day chart here, in my opinion, now that we've broken out, as you can see, into this neutral RSI zone, you saw how we first saw resistance, but then we finally broke out. In my opinion, Litecoin is well on its way to see this RSI start to head right up. And what that means for the price is it's also going to go up alongside with it. Not only that, you can see with the MACD, the fast length, which is indicated here in blue, and the slow length have already crossed, showing a bullish divergence there. A bullish sign there, and there's a negative divergence in the MACD as well, as you can see with the sellers starting to become extremely weak, and now more buyers coming into the market. So with that happening at this point, in my opinion, we're going to start to see this MACD curve into this buyer zone, and with that happening, prices are automatically going to also increase alongside with it. And if we were to zoom into a 1-hour chart and do a technical analysis here, you can see we have this beautiful top here where we've got some known resistance, and we are approaching those higher levels, which is right around 135 US dollars. In my opinion, as soon as we break out of these levels, it's going to be the sky for Litecoin, and I think we'll start to see levels as high as around 160 US dollars before seeing any further resistance, knowing that we're kind of in this trough right now. We're like under the majority of where prices typically are. You can see we're at the same levels that we were when we dropped here right around February, and then we shot right back up all the way to as high as 254 US dollars. And knowing that Litecoin has seen prices at around the 300s, I think that Litecoin is well on its way up. And even if it's not, remember what we talked about. When you're setting up positions, long or short, what you want to do is have more upside potential than downside potential. So if we were to set up a long position right here at the current price levels, understand the downside is pretty minimal because you're obviously not going to set up a stop loss down here when you know this is the support. So you want to set up the stop loss right around here. But this upside potential is a lot higher in my opinion, deeming Litecoin very undervalued right now and without as much attention as the majority of coins. And then also seeing the fact that it's only 11% up while the majority of coins like EOS, 40%, Ripple, 34%, Ethereum, 31%. I think Litecoin has not seen the attention necessary to drive its price up yet, even though we are in a bullish market to a certain degree. Not necessarily fully bullish until we pass that $10,000 range as we talked about 3 videos ago. Remember, these are the 3 strong resistance levels for Bitcoin: 10,000, 9,000, and then the one we just crossed, which is 8,200, which is extremely good because now that we're finding support on there, if we find strength along this area, maybe form another pennant, that would be another potential breakout as we continue to watch these price movements. And now let's transition to the Tron technical analysis. But before we do, we're going to take some quick questions from the audience. Temple Ray in the house says token pay. Mitch88, look at the chart for Enio. Benny J. Johnson says, BNB, I reckon short term. Absolutely. Richard said, it's a cup and handle. This is a good question. Eric Rod Survival says, what crypto do you think is most likely to be adopted by merchants, such as Coffee Shop, LTC, or XRP? I would say out of those two, LTC on the Lightning Network would be extremely good, or even Bitcoin on the Lightning Network. But there's other coins like Nano, extremely fast. And in my opinion, there's a lot of coins here that could be used as daily transactions. Also, Ethereum, a lot of people, they prefer to use Ethereum for daily transactions. I know John McAfee, I was listening to a podcast on the Bad Crypto podcast. Shout out to that podcast once again. And he talked about how he typically uses Ethereum for day-to-day transactions. And we have another question here. Mercenary Whore. Wow, I should have never said that. Sorry. Bad word. Good morning, Snipers Tube. Happy Crypto Sunday. Wow, this is a nice person. Interesting name. Western Union / XRP releasing new payment app for Caribbean and Latin America April 18th. Why no chatter or excitement online? Source from Crypto Current. Well, we actually posted a video recently before Ripple broke out talking about the partnership that it had with Walmart and MoneyGram, and people didn't realize that it was going to break out, but it did. And once it broke it out, people were like, oh yeah, well there you go. But understand the majority of the fact, Ripple has seen many different partnerships, and typically these partnerships don't necessarily use the XRP token. So we've seen Ripple create hundreds of partnerships and the price staying stagnant. So in my opinion, it's not like a coin like Verge, where Verge is announcing this huge partnership on the 17th and there's all this hype because, you know, we assume that they're going to use the XVG token versus Ripple, where they typically don't use the XRP token. Remember, Ripple and XRP are 2 different entities. Eric Swell says, why are you rated so low on cryptoinfluence.io? Oh, I just got on that website. They reached out to me recently. They said that when they have their upvoting system, I'll probably get voted higher. But, you know, I appreciate any sort of influence I have in this community. You know, I don't take that lightly. And with that, you know, I want to dedicate a lot of my life to educating myself so I can bring you all the best information possible. And talking about that, we're going to be having a mastermind as soon as this live stream is over for all rubies and above on our Patreon. And if you all don't know, you can also submit questions and coin requests, and I will do all of the requests on the live mastermind for you. And that's what Ruby and Aboves get as a privilege of being a Ruby and Above, and that's going to be on our Patreon. Remember, patreon.com/snipers. It's going to be immediately after this live stream, and you can submit your questions by going to Slido and entering that code if you are going to be part of that mastermind. Frank Palacio says, you're the best, dude. Thank you, George. I appreciate that. Frank said EC just named a bunch of coins. And RJ Jamal says, you wearing pants today? Why do you care if I'm wearing pants? Anonymous says, do you have any long-term holds? Absolutely. I have a long-term hold portfolio. I have a swing trading portfolio. And then I have a day trading portfolio, which hasn't been as active. I've really liquidated a lot of those assets into my swing trading portfolio, as I like swing trading a lot more. You know, it's a trade that you can make, go out, eat dinner, come back home, and then see profits rather than sitting behind a computer screen 24/7 trying to trade, which either or works. When I retired in October as a day trader, I was trading a lot more than I trade now. However, now I'm focused more on growing the community and allowing y'all to learn and educate yourselves so you can feel the life-changing experience that I felt in October when I was able to go full-time in trading, and that was before I even had this YouTube channel. Hassan says, I feel that coins that are primarily used as a utility and have real-world usage for now will break out. Absolutely. coin primarily being used as a currency will be a long-term investment. Very, very true. And then as more countries create their own quote-unquote currencies on the blockchain, I don't think they're going to be deemed usable when we have all these other coins that are being used. And I think that's where we're going to see the global economy come into play. And that's where I'm going to predict that fiat currency is going to eventually start being used in a different way, in my opinion. Brett McKelvey says Naeem will be the top 10 or better. Thank you. I appreciate that. SXC Fitness New York, man, you better have a strong body if you got that name. Said, if you had 6,000 to invest right now, which would your top pick be? I would never just put 6,000 into one coin unless that's my swing trading allocation. I would diversify 6,000. So let's say you have 6,000. I would take a percentage of that, put it into a long-term portfolio. Let's say that's $3,000. I would diversify that upon other allocations. There's a really good book here called Principles. I highly recommend. If you're on our Discord and you go under tools, helpful reads, you can actually see all of these recommended books. This is Principles. I'll actually give away a book at the end of this live stream now that we're talking about books. But this book right here changed my mindset forever. I highly recommend this book by Ray Dalio, one of the largest hedge fund managers in the world. Here's just one little nugget from the book. It says, create a culture in which it is okay to make mistakes and unacceptable not to learn from them. And that means that when you're making a bad trade, you better learn from that because you're going to make that trade multiple times again, and you need to learn from that experience. So one of the largest hedge fund managers in the world predicted the 2008 crash as well as the 2009 EU crash. Very prominent. Ray Dalio runs Bridgewater Associates, I believe is the name of his hedge fund, and very successful, very good book, and I highly recommend it. And there's more books in that recommended reading list, and we're going to dive into the Tron technical analysis, forming this overall pennant. If you don't know what a pennant is, it's when the resistance and the support levels converge together. We've talked about a pennant quite a bit here on this channel. It happens quite often. It's a very bullish signal. It's how we predicted the Bitcoin breakout. You can see exactly how this forms, where you're seeing these descending resistance levels, these ascending support levels. It's exactly what we're seeing here. This is actually a very violent pennant. So if we were to zoom into the 2 hour to see a little bit more of a short-term gain, you can see how we're now breaking out of this pennant. In my opinion, Tron is only a matter of time before it breaks out. And I know we're seeing a little bit of positive movement right now, but the reason I haven't yet put in a position is because knowing that we're looking at Satoshi value, I think Bitcoin is going to move, and that might offset the type of movement that we're going to see with Tron. And not only that, I'm actually waiting for this RSI to go right back up so we can see that positive divergence that we were originally seeing with these support levels, but then we eventually broke through that. And that's not a good sign, because if we break through, that could be an indicator we might see lower RSI levels, indicating further lows, better entry points. But if we go back on top here and we see this positive divergence continue to ride up, in my opinion, what I'm going to watch for is this 60 right here. You can see how we found resistance right along 60, knowing that that's a level to watch in the RSI. In my opinion, anything within this zone right here or anything within this zone right here would be the ideal entry point for Tron. I'm just not going to do it right here because it's kind of an undecided zone. If it goes here, I'd rather have a position here. But if it's in here, then so be it. I'll take a position here and then ride that wave up as it starts to become more and more bullish, knowing that I can set up stop losses and minimize risk, being that it is at these lower levels. If we go to the 1 hour chart, you can see here, we've got some very known support levels here, right around 490 Satoshis. And then we've got some very known resistance levels here, right around 524 Satoshis. And as soon as we can break out of that, you can play the breakout or play the support. If you know how to play the breakout, you pretty much wait until it breaks out through the resistance, because that is a indicator that's most likely to see further highs. And then you can take advantage of those higher highs. And then all you're doing is risking maybe like 0.5% profit by not buying right now and waiting for the breakout. And that's how you play a breakout, or buying at the support. So those are two ways to play this, but you can see how we're starting to break through this pennant, which is going to be extremely bullish, and that's probably going to bring the RSI to the place that we want it to in order to deem this a probable position for a possibility of a profit. So with that being said, Tron being extremely bullish in 2018, I want to talk a little bit about Tron. I am starting to like this project more and more as I read more about it, and as I learn more about what Justin Sun's vision really is, and how much Chinese people in China respect this individual for the type of path that he's willing to pave for their country here. I'm not going to read this whole article, but I will highlight some very key points that I think will add value to each and every one of you watching this live stream on Snipers too, because you're all snipers, and we snipe targets, and we snipe the best trades, baby. Tron is soon to be on its own blockchain. Mainnet launch is going to be on the 31st of May. If you all know, anytime a mainnet launches, it automatically intrinsically values that coin higher than where it currently is at in valuation. And you can see 100 million users are currently using the 9D applications that are also even being used on the Ethereum platform right now, which is eventually going to be transitioned onto their own blockchain, which is going to be a huge project for them. And then another exciting thing about Tron is Project Genesis. This is what I think is the coolest part about Tron, and this is what made me start to think about Tron as a potential long-term hold, and it's initiated this attraction to Tron that wasn't previously there, in my opinion, as an investment. And if you see what Project Genesis is looking to do, Tron literally means war with Ethereum and any other platform. So that's EOS, Stellar, Cardano, all these de-application platforms. Project Genesis is a reward pool valued at $2 billion and aimed at rewarding its Tron community and developers. Through human nature, we are motivated by the thought of being rewarded from our work. So giving the developers the incentive to develop on the Tron blockchain is going to be huge for Tron long term. So they're looking at this and playing long. And then the other part of this article says the Tron community is impressively large not to notice. The Tron Twitter page has over 284,000 followers. That's a lot of followers. That's a big community. And you can see Justin has the entire country of China watching the project. As you all know, Justin Sun recently went on the news and talked to the American citizens on a live stream, and a lot of Americans were kind of making fun of him because he didn't know English so well, but I guarantee you those Chinese people watching him were so impressed by the fact that he was brave enough to go ahead and address his project to the American citizens of the United States of America, which obviously is a strong country in this world. And with that, I think that people look up to Justin Sun in China, and we cannot underestimate the power of China because there's so much money there, there's so much amazing minds in China. A good friend of mine has actually been a longtime sniper here on Sniper Soup in our community. His name is Kevin. He's the one that actually gifted me that mic that you guys may have seen a couple days on our live stream ago, the blue mic. He was telling me all about how China has so much opportunity in the blockchain and he sees a huge potential there. So with that being said, we are going to be heading over to our mastermind. If you are a Ruby, you can head over there. If you're not, you can go on patreon.com/snipers and become a Ruby. And a Ruby entitles you to all of our trade alerts as well as our masterminds, which happen 3 to 4 times a month. And these masterminds allow you to submit specific coin requests for me to do. And then it also allows you to submit questions for me to answer for you on a live stream, which is going to be just like this, but on Patreon, and then you'll have a private chat to talk to me as well. We're going to be heading over to our mastermind, being that it's Sunday. And with that being said, I really appreciate all of you tuning in to our YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Facebook live stream. And I hope we added some value to each and every one of y'all. Book of Ellie says, decentralize the web. Nightcrawler in the house. Jinsuck in the house. Sandra is in the house. Good to have you. Christian Lon in the house. Joseph Lavage. Oneness says, Naeem, you are stellar. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Warren G says, oh God, Tron has partnered with Sniper's Tube. No, they did not partner with Sniper's Tube. I would have to disclose that legally if I did any sort of partnership for any sort of compensation. Legally, you have to disclose it, and my lawyer wouldn't be too happy about that if I didn't. Razy says, Naeem, are you wearing your PJs again with the suit jacket on? Listen, I don't wear the suit jacket for you all. I wear this because I trade better with suits. That's the truth of the nature. I love you all, but I wear suits because I trade better with suits. Remember, it's all about self-image and confidence, right? Joseph Fernet says, hi, Naeem. Hi. Palm Beach says, keep the beard coming. Yeah, the beard is going to come. Trust me, I've got the Middle Eastern genes. This will come pretty hard if I let it. So it's going to be interesting. One of our live streams, somebody bet on the beard for likes, and I had to do it because you guys always end up using your likes to your advantage, which is fine. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, though. We're going to head over to our mastermind, which is going to start at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time in about 17 minutes. Thank you all for tuning in. Until our next live stream, that's it for today. Snipers out. Thank you.